Hi, Julie. Good morning. I'm just going to share this really quickly to the other page. Hi, Linda. Good morning. How's everybody doing today? I know I'm a little bit early, but I was early, so I wanted to make sure I wasn't going to be late. All right, let's see. Hi, Angela, Jessica. How's everybody doing today? Thank you all for stopping by. Let's see. Let me put this. Okay. Alrighty. So I pasted that. Good morning. Hi, Brina. Hi, Karen. Hi, Adrian. So we're going to be making this fun card today. And that reminds me I have to get some of this paper out. But I wanted to share with you, if you guys hadn't seen these cute ways to wrap some Halloween treats. This is a gigantic Halloween Kit Kat. So I just stamped this gorgeous grape paper with the buffalo check background stamp, and then just did a little stitching with the lemon lime twist. And then this one is Reese's pumpkins. Who doesn't love those? So I'm trying to hold myself back from eating them, but just wrap around, very simple. I did put both of these on the blog this week because they were pretty simple to make, just to fold around. So there are those two, so you can see how big they are. And you could do this with any size candy bar. You can even do it with little ones too. I mean, you could just make some DSP and wrap it around. So let me put these up somewhere, and hopefully they won't fall on my head or fall down in the middle of filming. But today we're going to make this card that I gave you guys a sneak peek of on Sunday. Super fun card. It's got a little bit of a twist to it. Let's see if I can get this to pop up here. Now unpin that. Okay. So this was really fun and easy to make, but I'm going to tell you, if you wanted to, you could also even make this simpler by using some DSP. Let me put this one on the top. Okay, so I want to show you one other thing. I just actually got back from, I took my son to school, and I stopped at the dollar store. So I got these, it was like a little 2-pack of containers, but these will be perfect for putting my DIY embossing powder. So if you remember from the other day, we did silver and gold together, which kind of makes champagne. So I'll put that in there. I know it's not very much in there right now, but I also could put a little bit, like a little scallop punch in there. That way it's easier to use, because they didn't have the ones that had the little spoons. I know I've seen some people that have had the ones with the little spoons, which are really cool. However, they didn't have them at mine. And then the other one I'm going to save, because I kind of just temporarily put this. This was the silver and the Call Me Clover. So I kind of just put it in there temporarily. But this will also be a great way to mix the colors together if you needed to. So you can put everything in there and shake it up really well. So probably the only thing you want to do, which I could have done ahead of time, was just to run my embossing buddy through this, just so it would kind of cut down on the static, but it's no big deal. So I got these for $1 at the dollar store, so not bad, and they do stack together. So I'm going to just put the colors that I mixed on top of this. That way if I wanted to, I could always add more. So not so bad for $1. So let me see if I can find another spot to put them. And then we will get started on our card. I do have another little project I'm working on. I'll show you this. This is just a little box that I was working on making. Haven't finished it yet, but I thought it would be fun to do something like that where we had a sentiment on the inside as well. There's a lot of embossing with this box. So I'll work on this. I don't know if I'll get to it later in the week, because my son's birthday party is this weekend. So kind of things are a little bit crazy with trying to make sure that everything is organized. But I promise I will get to it sooner than later. And also, no, I want to keep those on the side. Also, in case you've missed it, I just want to tell you, because I know sometimes we get really wrapped up with the holiday catalog, but Let me move my stuff for today over for a second. There is a lot of stuff also. This is in the annual catalog, okay? So if you don't have an annual catalog, feel free, or a holiday catalog, feel free to send me an email. I'll be happy to send you one for free. So there's a lot of holiday stuff in here. There's a really cool DSP under the mistletoe. There's a coordinating paper pack that goes with it. There's some basic rhinestone jewels, some ribbon, a really pretty stamp set. And then we have some old favorites from years past. This is still one of my favorites, Christmas Pines, and then the Cookie Cutter Christmas. They also give you some fabulous examples in here. You could use the sheet music together with the Christmas Pines and make a gorgeous card. That one there is the cable knit. And then we have Star of Light, Night in Bethlehem. This was everybody's favorite last year. Nature Sings, Snowflake Sentiments, Hearts Come Home, Stylish Christmas, nice poinsettia, tomato, whichever way you like to say it. And then we have the really fun one, which Ready for Christmas. You can make the little staircase. You can make a 3D tree. If you're into making labels or tags, you could use the Labels to Love. This also you could use for Valentine's. Has a Halloween sentiment. And then the seasonal chums. Those were always great to add to tags as well. So there is a little bit more in the holiday catalog. Just, you know, if you haven't checked it out lately before you put your order in. And I also want to show you that if you wanted to, today for this card, there's lots of different DSP. So if you are a little bit thinking maybe we don't have a whole lot of choices, there are a bunch of different ones. So the one we showed you, that was the Under the Mistletoe. And I'm going to save that one for last. We also have Frosted. I believe this is Joyous Noel. I'm sorry. This is a beautiful one. It has, part of it is, has a gold foil or a copper foil, I should say, to it. And then the other side is plain. But this paper is beautiful. Such beautiful paper. Now, this is a specialty paper, so the pricing is a little different than your regular DSP sheets. We have this other one. This one is called All is Bright. And you can go back, and I will link this when we're finished. But there's a great preview of the DSP that I did. This one is very lifelike. This paper looks like you could reach out and touch it. It's really cool. And then we have the Festive Farmhouse DSP, which is something that I used part of to create this the other week, which I'll share this with you as well in the future. And then you have, this one's only going to be good through September 30th, but if you have a $250 party order or a personal order, you will get this paper for free. That's the only way to get it. The Dashing Long Designer Series paper. And this one is really fun. I used this, a little piece of this on the box that I made. But this one we used for the inside with the words. It was just like a little bit of something to add to the background. So that was really cool. And then it has a lot of very just unique patterns in it. And you get 4 of each sheet. So there's the other one. 4 of each sheet instead of the normal 3. And then really pretty pattern on the back. And then I just wanted to show you one more thing. And this is kind of in case either you're in a time crunch or maybe you just are making a lot of these cards. Another idea you could use is you could take your framelits and you could use this paper, which this is called the Santa's Workshop Specialty Paper. Now, this paper is specialty because it actually, if you can, I don't know if you can even see that or not, but it is 3D. It has flocking. So the white has flocking over it. So you could use your Santa's signpost framelits, unless you enjoy fussy cutting. So I'm talking to you, Donna, you and I. But you can cut these out. So there's your one for Mrs. Claus. And one for your elf. And then there's one for the other elf in the other direction as well. So you could do this, save yourself some cutting. There's also one for the presents and for the signpost and for the little wagon that they're pulling behind with. So if you're in a time crunch and you're trying to make a bunch of cards, you could use these as well. And this isn't even the only sheet. So you get 2 sheets of each. Then you have this little paper present parade. It's really, really fun. But this is an easy way if you're trying to make a bunch of cards and maybe you just don't have a lot of time. The snowmen juggling, snowmen sleeping. This also has the flocking on it. It's really, really cute. And then the other side will be plain. So this is Christmas trees. Then they have the bag of presents. really fun. Other side of that is just some dashes. So it's also really good for one side being great and the other side being more neutral. And then you have the stripes, if you can hear that. The white candy cane stripe has some flocking on it, and then you have ribbon. But this one I think is one of my most fun sheets. So you have the Santa Claus. So right here, with this Santa, I actually colored him in with Stampin' Blends, but you could just cut this out if you wanted to instead. You have the presents, Santa sleeping. Now, there isn't a die cut for him, but you could certainly do that with the oval if you wanted to. And then the other side is just candy cane. So I think this side is going to be hard to trade for the candy canes, even though it's really cute. And then one other thing I wanted to share with you, what I ended up doing was with the I don't know if they're calling this Dazzling Diamonds paper anymore. I feel like it's called something different now. But what I did was when I cut out my snowflakes for my card, I ended up kind of cutting them slightly. And I mean just slightly in a row, because I thought I could use this for something else in the future. So if you have a scrap of this and you're wanting to use it, you could always cut them kind of in a slight pattern and then save this and put it on the inside of one of your cards. So that would look really cute if you were making like a card with snowflakes. You could pop the parts that you cut out up on some dimensional so it was more 3D, and you could do this onto like a balmy blue card, would make it look really wintry, or even pool party. Those two colors are really great for like a winter frost kind of card. So I started cutting this out originally without that intention. And then the way it just ended up being, I thought, wow, that would be a really fun idea. So I'm saving this scrap. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, but I'm not getting rid of it. So we're going to make this card today. It was pretty simple. And I'm going to, I think I'm going to use, just to change it up for the inside. So this one I used the newsprint. So I think I'm going to use just the dots for this. And this is the one that's the other side. Is really gorgeous. So I'm going to use the dots for that little bit of whimsy. And then on the front panel, we could use something. Let's see if there's something else here. Another one that would be fun would be to do the candy canes. But this paper is really pretty too, with the poinsettias. And then it has the little stars and the stockings. So how about if we do the stockings instead? So we'll do the stockings as our front paper. And then for the inside paper, we'll do the dots. So instead of using cherry cobbler on this, I'm going to use real red. We probably could get away with Poppy Parade, but I'm going to go with real red, and we'll do shaded spruce. So we'll make this one just a little bit different. And another thing I want to show you, what I ended up doing to start with this was I stamped a whole bunch of these little guys. Let me flip this over so you can see. I did the truck also. But I stamped a whole bunch of them on a piece of Whisper White, and then I just colored them all at the same time, and I was able to cut all of them out with the die cuts. You could fussy cut as well, and this one I just didn't finish coloring, so you can see. But they actually, these Stampin' Blends are really very vivid in their color choices. I mean, those are really, not to pat myself on the back, but they look pretty professional, and I'm not really great at coloring with the Stampin' Blends. I think the more you practice, the more you could do. And then I also just did, oh, here's another little elf. I also did one of the, this is the ornament. I can't think, this is the baubles. Beautiful baubles. And I did this one with the Stampin' Blends as well. So I have a couple little snowflakes. I'm going to put these on the side. That way it'll save us a little bit of paper cutting when we get to that. But again, so here's the card we're going to make. And I'll put all these little guys on the side. But what I did was I stamped all of them, and then I just colored them while I was watching television. And then the next day I came upstairs and cut them all out. So pretty simple. Okay, so here's going to be our layers. And the other thing I got out was the Joyous Noel. This was the glimmer paper. And since we're going to do those stockings, I don't know, I might still stick with the green. I don't know if I want to do the green or the red, so you guys will have to help me decide and see which one you like better. So we'll do that for that as well. But what I'm going to do first is, first things first, I'm going to stamp the Santa. Unless you guys want to pick something different to put on. We could also put Mrs. Claus, or we could put both of the elves. We could put them facing different directions. So let me know if you have a choice. I'm going to get out a piece of paper so we can stamp these on and let them dry. Doesn't need to be a huge piece, just kind of a scrap. And we'll see. Green. All right, help me out here. Do we want elves? Do we want Mrs. Claus? Or we could stick with Santa? And I have another little piece of paper we're going to use here. Green, green, green. All right, so we will stick with green. We got that much situated. I'm going to put this red on the side just in case anybody changes their mind. And then I'm going to get out the, oh, that's not it. Shaded spruce. We'll do our card in shaded spruce and real red. And I think I might have a piece there that works. And then another little scrap. And real red we need. All right, and then we have some real red. So what we'll do is we'll still do the base the same way. We're going to do a real red base. The green will be for the layer. So the shaded spruce will be the layer. And then we'll go from there with the rest of it. It is a cute card. All right, so I got Santa, elves, Mrs. Claus, Santa, Santa, elves, Santa, Santa. All right, I'm going to keep watching. I'm going to, in the meantime, just really quickly, I'm going to cut my paper. And I will, you don't really have to follow along. I will put all of the measurements for this onto the blog once they're done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and score this piece. I'm going to score this at 5.5. And cut it at 4 1/4. So this is 1 sheet of cardstock, so you can get 2. So this will be our base layer. And then, let me see where I put my little Post-it. There are my measurements. We have 4 by 4 3/4. So what is this? 4. So we'll do 4 3/4, I think was that one. 4 3/4 by 4. I wrote these down the other day, so let's see. Yep, so 4 3/4 by 4. And then the DSP, we're going to use the stockings for the front. So you want to make sure that you cut this in the correct direction. Okay, so it's going to be 4.5 on the long side. So we have 4.5. So we're going to cut this down here. I'm sorry, yeah, 4.5, not 4 1/4, Rachel. 4.5 by 3 3/4. Nope, cut it wrong, didn't I? Yes, I did. Blondie strikes again. 4.5 by 3 3/4. It's funny because when I'll sit and think about the directional paper, I have it down and then I always end up doing it backwards. So again, 4 by 4 3/4, 4.5 by 3 3/4. That's this. And then we need one more little piece of real red. Let me see if I can find a scrap. Because we need to make that little flap that holds him closed. Yeah, that should be, actually this one might be good enough. Let's see. So this needs to measure 3 by 2. So we have our 2. All right, so 3 by 2. Just like that. And we're going to score it at 1/2 inch. It looks like it's not much, but quite honestly, the way I layered it, you don't really need much. I made it a little bit too long originally. So this one's going to fold just like that, and it's going to fit right underneath, and it's going to hold all the rest of it in place. And then for the inside, I did this one to measure 4 by 5 1/4, and then I did a square panel for this one, which that one I don't think I measured. It's probably 3 by 3. 3.5 square. Okay, so we're just going to need a white square that's 3.5, and let me do my dots. So since these are dots, you can go either way. So we'll just cut a piece at 4, and then by 5 1/4. Okay, so this is going to be our inside layer. And if you wanted to, you could do the other side as well. All right, let me move all these out of the way. We have all of our pieces now. So the only other thing we're still going to have to do, oops, I forgot. I still need one piece of white, 3.5 inch square. And that's going to be for the inside. So this will be 3.5 square. And just one other little note. If you guys have something that you would like to see demonstrated, like a technique or something, feel free to shoot me an email. You can email me at rachthestamper@gmail.com. I'm going to just put these layers together. We have some of this out of the way, because I'm happy to demonstrate if there's something you've been wanting to try. Like friend Donna on here sent us the baby wipe technique, and she sent me some other things as well. So I'm happy to, I'm here for you guys. If you have something that you want to see done, all you have to do is let me know. So this will be for our inside panel. Okay, and then we're going to put our square. Our white square will go in there, but we still have to stamp this. So we're going to set this on the side. And we're going to put these two together as well. So this is our shaded spruce. Now I'm going to put this on, but I'm not going to put this onto the card front yet, because what I did was I kind of lined it up once I actually put it together. So this one we're going to just set here for now, okay? All right, so we have this for our guy. This is for the inside, and I believe you said we wanted to go with green, so I have that here, and then I have a little something to punch out a couple more snowflakes. So you cut it wrong all the time. The stockings, no, these aren't flocked. This is actually a different paper. This one doesn't have flocking on it, but that would be pretty cool. Okay. Try not to use directional paper. You know, Jen, once you get the hang of cutting the directional paper, and probably when you're not filming something, you'll never cut it wrong. It's just when you're doing something, it's like I always end up doing it backwards. Okay, so let's see. We have Mrs. Claus, elves, Mrs. Claus, elves. All right, let's do Mrs. Claus. We'll do something different. So I'm going to stamp her on. I think this is thick whisper white, but that's okay. So we're going to stamp Mrs. Claus. And anytime you're using the blends, you do want to make sure that you use Memento ink, okay? Because alcohol-based inks with alcohol markers will bleed. All right, and let me grab my pad here. So remember, we're going to cut this out with an oval, so we kind of just want it like slightly centered. Doesn't have to be perfect. These are always a good idea too if you want to use the Stamparatus for, because if you don't get something black enough, you can always add something to it. So how about if we do Mrs. Claus and then just do a little stack of presents next to her. That'll be fun. Actually, let's do the stack of presents in the, what is this, a cart? I keep wanting to call it a wheelbarrow. I call everything wheelbarrows. Don't ask me why. So put this here. And we'll get the cool part about the photopolymer, so you can line these presents up pretty exactly. You can even have them so they're falling over. Would be kind of funny. All right, and I think that's good. So this is what we're going to color in. I'm going to just give that a moment to dry. You can always hit it with your heat tool if you're in a hurry. Oops, forgot to put that back in here. And then the other thing was, I did this Sharing the Joy. This is actually from that stamp set that's in the annual catalog. Oopsie. That's why I wanted to remind you guys. So where's the Christmas? Here we go. This is from this, Sharing the Joy. It's from Ready for Christmas. And then At Christmas and Always. And I picked this because it was kind of a nice long sentiment, and I think it kind of gave something to the card with this, you know, kind of spreading out the viewpoint of the card. So you could pick anything else that was along. You could do Joy to the World, Season's Greetings. I wish I had the Star of Light. I don't own this one, but Merry Christmas is a really pretty one as well. And I don't have this one either. So we'll pick something to do for that. We just have to add a sentiment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one more thing. This is my, which I now crunched it, 3x3 square. And what I want to do for this one is I'm going to put those little lights. This is from Making Christmas Bright. So I'm going to put this. This is a rather large stamp, so kind of same thing again. You could use your Stamparatus. Mine's just across the room, and I don't want to make you wait any longer than you have to. Oh, thank you for sharing. And even if you're sharing for just watching later, that's fine. I'm going to put this at the top. And we're going to let this dry too, because I also colored this in with the Stampin' Blends. You could use your regular markers if you wanted to, your Stampin' Write markers. Either one is fine. And also, if you notice, I just stamped this on this pad. This does wipe off. So you don't have to worry about anything with any of your inks. If you stamp on your paper pierce mat, everything will wipe off of it completely. And let's see, on the inside, I just did that really pretty mixed color. So what I did was I mixed the Call Me Clover and the silver for that. And I did that for this one also. So let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and color her first. And I think we need a couple more things to put together, but I'm going to wait for those. Put this over here. And we just have to finish up our sentiment. Okay, so what I did is I did a couple things. I used Poppy Parade for her. I also, when I colored her over here, as you can see, I kind of made her a little more gray instead of white. So I used Smoky Slate, I believe. That's not Smoky Slate, that's Chrome Cake. I used Smoky Slate, and then I think I used a little bit of black even. Yeah, Smoky Slate, here we go. And then I just used a little bit of the light black. But the other thing you could do too is you could add in a little bit of like a light blue or a light green to kind of give like that blue look to the hair. And then the other thing I'll do with this is the Dark Pool Party. I do want the light one. I tend to outline things that are white in blue because it kind of almost gives that little bit more white look. And I'm also going to bring in my light Cherry Cobbler. And we'll do light Old Olive. So I'm going to do just these little holly sprigs first. And then I'm going to start with the light. And then I'll add the dark. You can kind of go either way. It just depends on what you want to do with it. But I find that if you add one color first, it blends a little bit better, quite honestly. And I do apologize. I'm trying my very best to keep my head out of the picture. So hopefully it's not in your way. Okay, and while this is still wet, I'm going to add just a little bit of dark to it. So I kind of went up by the areas where I thought the shadows would be. But again, I am no expert colorer, so. And I'm going to go back in with the light and then just blend it out a little bit. Okay, same thing. I'm just take this across the bottom. I am trying my best to stay in the lines, but if I had a little too much coffee this morning or what. Same thing. So I'm going to do on the same side where I think the shadow would be. Just underneath. I'll add a little bit over here in the corner as well. And then go back and reblend again with your light. Okay. There's a little berry here. And then I'm going to go in with a little bit of the dark Cherry Cobbler. Just add a little bit more shading. And I'm also going to do the heart. Except for one side. I'm going to leave just that one side. I have my light Poppy Parade one more time. And again, these markers do work best if you're doing them in small doses, okay? For some reason, if you do these in big swaths and they kind of dry out, they don't tend to keep their color as well. I'm going to do this little present here while I'm at it just with the red. And we'll do these in red stripes. Red stripes here. Let me bring in a little bit of green. I'm going to fill the rest of this in with green. This is the light Old Olive. Another fun thing to do with this if you wanted to is you could actually go in. I'm going to bring in some, I think this is light. Yes, light Mango Melody. I'm just going to do like kind of around the ribbon a little bit. But you could trim these out and you could do them with clear embossing powder and make them shiny, that would be really fun too. All right, so now I'm going to bring in the ivory. So I'm going to do her face. Actually, this is petal pink. I did use this one the other day. Light petal pink, and then pink pirouette we don't have anymore. I think we have, what is this one? Flirty Flamingo. So I filled her in with light petal pink with her hands. You could also use the ivory if you wanted to. You could also use light crumb cake, just depending on what shade you want her to be. I'm going to add in just with the brush tip end, because it tends to make it a little finer. Just a little bit on her nose and her cheeks. And then I go back and I just re-blend it again with the petal pink, just to kind of soften the edges of that. So there you have her. We did get her hands. And I'm going to take my pointier tip of my Pool Party, and I kind of just very lightly outline the white. Kind of gives you that more white look to it, if that makes sense. You could also do this if you wanted to with her hair, if you wanted her hair to stay white. So I'm going to put a little bit of the Pool Party, and then I'm going to go in with the light smoky slate. Just kind of bring that around. I'm going to add a little bit of dark smoky slate, just in a couple of spots. As you can see, I'm very precise with my coloring. Not. And then I have the brush tip again of the Pool Party, just to re-blend this out a little bit. You could also take your light smoky slate and just make like a little bit of a shadow underneath of her. Shadow underneath of your... Oh, that was a little big shadow under the cart there. But if you do mess up your shadow, all you have to do, you can go in. This is the color Lifter, and you can kind of soften it up a little bit. And remember, the back side of this is going to look yucky, but we're going to label this on, or layer this onto something, so it should be just fine. So I'm going to make my Cartwheels dark smoky slate. Okay, and I'm going to do the inside with the light smoky slate and the other half of the wheel, kind of just to add that shading to it. And then my cart I'm going to do with, I think I have crumb cake here. Here's my ivory. So if you wanted a little bit more of a colored face, you could also add a little bit of ivory if you wanted to. There we go. And I also forgot, I wanted to do her glasses with a little bit of Pool Party. All right, so my light crumb cake is what I'm going to start with for my cart. Is this light? Nope, it's dark. Thought it seemed a little dark. And light crumb cake. It actually doesn't look too bad, because with blending the bottom shadow out a little bit, it does look a lot lighter. Just going to add a little bit more of this back in. There we go. Another thing you could do if you wanted to give this depth, actually learned this from Linda Cullen last year when we first got some of the blends. You can trace the entire outline of your whole project with light smoky slate, and it kind of gives that 3D pop to it. So that's a really fun thing to do as well. If you want, you just have to go through very gently. You could probably use the pointy tip end, would be a little bit better. But she did this last year when she did a little, the elf, if you guys remember last year, the elf that was holding the sign, she kind of outlined it. And I'll show you just a little bit on this. And what you do is you take your other pen and you kind of soften the edge. And it kind of almost makes her look three-dimensional, like she's sticking out off the page. So it's pretty cool. It does take a little bit of extra work if that's what you're going to do, but since we already started it, let's go. The only thing you want to do when you do this is you want to make sure that you keep, again, just a wet area, because it's easier to blend this or to kind of erase or soften the edges if it's still wet-ish. You can also go ahead of time if you wanted to. This is another thing you do. You could put the lifter on first, and then you add your smoky slate in, because it will kind of not absorb as much as you think it will, and it makes it lighter to get from the get-go. So I know that might be a little hard to see, but it is pretty neat when you see it in person. Okay. Just do this one last little bit, and then we'll finish up with our sentiment. One other thing, you do not want to leave the cap off of your marker for very long, because you will come back and find a dried out marker that you cannot use any longer. So I right now, just because I'm doing this video and keeping this out a little bit longer, I don't tend to leave mine out uncovered this long. Usually what I'll do is when I'm using one, I'll keep the other one in the cap as I'm using it. So just a tip, that way you can make sure that they last a little bit longer, because they are not refillable, and I know they're not cheap, but they are pretty cool. I like them a lot. These are the first alcohol markers I've ever had. So there you go. Gives a little bit more of a 3D look. So now all we have to do is cut this out, and I'm going to use my stitch shape for her, and then I'm going to use the scallop for the green. So are we still sticking with the same thing? We're sticking with the green background. So what everybody voted, looks like most everybody said things get amputated. You know what, Melanie? It's okay. It's fine, because everything is going to look cute. You're going to end up liking it. It's going to look really nice. Let's see. This one, you know what? This might be a little too... Let me see what I did for him. I know he was tinier. Nope. Because he was just on this one. No, it has to be this one. So I must have used that for him. So let me see if this one measures the same. It's like a little bit different. That's okay. So we're going to use that one for her. And then I'm going to use the largest scallop shape for the green. And hopefully it'll have enough. We'll see. If not, I'll have to go back in and recut it. So I'm going to just pop these through. Let me move this over. We do still have to add our sentiment, and we do have to still color in our little bulbs here, but we could do that in a minute. Move some of this stuff out of the way, and I will bring in the big shot. So we're going to cut her out first. Okay, so I have her on, you could use your magnetic platform if you want, if you're really concerned about the placement, but quite honestly, I don't really use mine all that often. I bought it a while back, and it's probably not really one of my go-to things. I know a lot of people love that, and that is like the only thing they use. That's probably one of my least used tools, is the magnetic platform. Now, if you want to, one other thing you can do, it will make it cut through a little bit easier, is you can actually put this on the back, but just for saving time, I'm going to do it on the front, because my luck, it'll cut wrong, and then you guys will have to wait and watch me do another one. So I'm going to crank this through. Stamping is easier with two. Two arms are overrated. True. All right, so here we go. Let's see. Oh, that looks really cute. Very cute. I like the green because it does have a lot of red on it. All right, so there's our green, and she is a little bigger than Santa was. So while I have this here, let me see, where did I do with my... I'm going to cut out just a couple of extras of these so I can show you. I'm going to cut out a few of these little snowflakes that are in this stamp set. I'm going to do the big one, the biggest one, and then I'll do the other ones as well. So I'll just do 3 of each. So I just have these kind of lined up in a little grouping. As soon as they pop through, you'll see them. And I just use these to like add a little bit of extra fun to the front of the card. So as you see here, we'll have these 3 popped out. So then if you wanted to, what you could do is you could just continue the pattern if you were going to use this strip for something. And it would just be like a really fun repeating pattern. So let me pop these. See if I can keep all this stuff in the same area so I don't lose it. So I'll do the same thing. So I'm just going to put, I'm going to do 1 more of each, and that'll be good. So I'm going to do the big one again. I'll put the medium one over here, and then I'll put the little one in the bottom. And then once you're done with this, if you cut it kind of in the same, like slightly in the same pattern, then you could just do the same thing and just cut that strip out and use it on your card. Another fun thing to do is you could do this with white paper. So to get like a 2-for-1, you could cut these out with white paper, Whisper White for this, and then you could use your little silver pieces, pop them up. So that would be really fun too. So lots of ideas. I'm going to need the Big Shot one more time because of the way I did the sentiment. But let me finish putting this part together first, and then I'll show you what I did for that. Actually, believe it or not, I used a, I guess you would call it like a thinlit layer. It's almost like a punch, but instead you use your thinlit for it. That's actually from the Lily Pad Lake die set. I don't know if the die set is that name or not, but I'll show you that one in a second. All right, let me move these. Move my ovals. All right, so we're gonna put, ooh, one more thing. Let's just do this real quick before I forget. So I'm gonna do light green. This is light Granny Apple Green. Oh, what's this one? Light Lovely Lipstick. I think this one is Pineapple Punch. Yeah, Dark Pineapple Punch. So I'm gonna just use these 3 colors. And they're probably not any colors that maybe you would see in Christmas bulbs, but maybe if you have new ones, because all those new LED ones are all crazy colors. Another thing you could do with this if you wanted to is you could have embossed this. So your line, there's black embossing powder, you can make it black. You could use green if you want to have those green strands that match your Christmas tree. Okay, so there's that. Fun. Okay, let me put these up here. Put them back when we're done. Actually, I'm going to keep them down. That way I can tell you guys what I did with them. Because sometimes I'll leave stuff out. That way I can remember what I did. All right, so we have most of the rest of our card. So we're going to put her together. And I'm going to put her with either one of 2 things. I will say you either want to use Fast Fuse on this or Tombow liquid glue. Because sometimes the glitter is a little hard to stick to. Oh, this one empty too? I'm telling you, I need to order myself some liquid glue. So you want to make sure this sticks. So I'm going to put that on here. Just like that. Give it a press. And again, I'm going to just set a block on top of it just to give it some weight, okay? In the meantime, so we have our sentiment that is gonna, so we have our panel that's gonna go here. This panel we're gonna hide underneath of our other layer, which, oh my goodness, look what I did. Pull lock moment. So see, I was supposed to put this underneath of here. All right, well, we have enough of this pulled apart. I'll reattach it. So I'm sorry if anyone on there is Polish. I do a lot of Polish things. I am Polish. I was raised by Polish people. And I'm blonde. I've said that before. I do a lot of pull lock things sometimes. So what you want to do is you want to put this so it goes under here, because then it's going to cover it up for you so you don't see it. So I'm kind of just giving you an instruction. So I'm sorry if anybody was making this along with me and they did the same thing. I know someone did that with me the other day. I'm sorry, I messed up. Okay. I swear. I get myself in so much trouble sometimes. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to put some liquid glue on here, and I'm going to stick her on the front. And we're going to just eyeball for now. So we have this probably about here. We have that probably about there. Let's move her in just a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick her up and I'm going to move her in. Actually a lot, because hers is a little bit longer. And she's a little bit crooked on there, but that's okay. Okay, so that's what we're going to go with. We're going to put her about halfway down. All right, so here's where we want her. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some liquid glue here. Okay. I'm going to kind of put her where I think I want her. Again. I'm going to fold this to the edge. I'm going to tuck this underneath. And then I'm going to lift, oh, I did this so blonde. Lift right here and stick her under the edge. And then before I actually press this again, I'm going to put a little bit of Tombow glue down here. It's a blonde moment. Oh, we Poles are highly intelligent. That is absolutely right, Karen. We're so intelligent, we do things ahead of ourselves. That's probably part of the problem. But I'll tell you one thing. I love being Polish. I always wish I was more Polish. I was kind of mad because I didn't really get a very Polish name. And my dad, we're like half of a lot of other things. Irish, German, pretty much you name it. And my brother's middle name is Kelly, like a nod to our Polish, and a nod to the Irish, I should say. And I was always mad because I didn't get a more Polish name. My mom was like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, I don't know. How come you didn't name me something more Polish? So, and I did my little fold here a little bit off. I'm going to go back and just put a little mark here. So that, I think, is why I named my son Christian, but the Polish spelling with a K. All right, so I totally goobered this one up by now. So his is like extra Polish. Yeah. All right, let me see if I can slide this out without ruining my card, because I put this a little too far. It was all going entirely too smoothly. That was the problem. Everything was going way too smooth, and it was just like a matter of time until something got screwed up. All right, let's try that. So we're going to put that on the outer edge a little bit more and make sure this folds over. Yeah. All right, that's going to have to be good enough because I buggered that one all up. All right, there we go. So when you make your card, you're going to remember, don't put this down until you put your flap down, right? Everybody agree? We're all going to remember that, right? Right. Sticking out at the tongue and biting it on concentration. That is so true. That is hilarious. My grandfather used to do that all the time. You know what my grandfather also used to do? This is just goes to show you he was the fun kind of Polish. He would always try, because he had a really big nose, he would always try touching his nose with his tongue. Probably more information than you all wanted to know, but I love my grandfather dearly, even though he's not with me any longer. I'm going to just add a couple of these little snowflakes here in the meantime. And then we're going to finish up our last part, I promise. All right. Whoop. Okay. Put one here. Okay, so we still do need to put this down. So I didn't forget about that. But we also need to do a sentiment, and we also have to stamp something on the bottom here. So do you guys want to stick with sharing the joy at Christmas and always? Oh, I also put a little wink of Stella on there, if you can see that. Super fun. Heinz 57. Oh, you're Swedish. So you must make really good meatballs then, huh, Brina? Just kidding. That's one of the many reasons we visit IKEA, you know. Just for the meatballs. Sharing the joy. Let's see what else we have here. I also have this really pretty Merry Christmas. And kind of goes well with the stockings. The Merry Christmas. This is the host set that's in the back of the catalog. Let's see. I thought I had another one out here too. My Signs of Santa one gives you wishing you everything on your list and more, but it really won't fit into that long thing where I want to put it. And then you also could do Merry Christmas and Friends Make the Season Shine. We could put that on the inside as well. So, Slovak. Oh, there you go, Donna. Well, you're close enough. Your judge, I don't know, Terry. My Jaji was the best. I have to argue with you on that one. But Jajis in general, if you have a Jaji, you're a very blessed person. All right, so we're going to do Merry Christmas. Diana wins. So we're going to use the Merry Christmas for the front, but I'm going to show you how I did that really pretty mix here. So let me grab my die. Okay. This is the one that I forgot. So we can actually use the tinier one. So I used these Lakeside framelits for this one. And it turned out really cute because this is a really nice shape. So this is what I used for that. So instead, since this one's a little thinner, we'll use this little tiny one for the Merry Christmas. So we're gonna, that is in the annual catalog. This is the gorgeous one with the bird. Let's pull this out. All right, so this one's going to be our inside piece. So we still need another little scrap, which I have here. This is mostly clean. We're going to run our embossing buddy on it. And we're going to grab our Versamark. I'm going to keep this handy because I don't know what we're going to do on the inside yet. And where did I put, there it is. That's my silver. Here's my green. Okay, so what I did to get this was I put, and I'm going to mix a little bit more just so you guys can see what I did. I put silver in with this. So this was the embossing powder kind of bundle, I guess is what you'd call it. And they are tinier. They are definitely tinier than the jars. But I'm going to tell you, this pigment on this is really potent. It is super, super green or whatever color. So it's really cool. It definitely shines through. So I'm going to mix a little bit more of this in here just so you guys can see what I did. So I'm going to take a little bit of Call Me Clover. That's good. And then a little bit of silver. Ooh, that might be a lot. We'll have to see. And I kind of did this in the coffee filter when I did it before. Just kind of shake it, mix it together. All right, so let me grab my stamp. So we have Merry Christmas. And again, it doesn't really matter if it's straight because we are going to cut it out. So Merry Christmas. We'll stamp this on here. Okay. And remember, the Versamark does stay pretty wet for pretty long. Of course, I don't have anything. Oh, here's this. I can use as a scrap. I'm going to make myself a little spoon out of this little piece here. And kind of tilt this to one side. Let's see if this works. Oh, that looks pretty good. Let me just do one more. Probably better if you have like a spoon or... Again, you can still do this in your coffee filter, which is probably what I'll do from now on. And then if you have any spots, and I will warn you, when you use these, the green and all, don't use your fingers because it will smudge. It is really pigmenty. Just take a little brush and just kind of, if you have anything, just brush it off. It is much easier to get it off now than to try to get it off after the fact. So let me close this up. So I'm going to start up my heat tool. Yeah, the silver and gold, that's that champagne, Char. That is awesome. I love that. I have a container of that too. Actually, I have two containers. I need to combine them. I'm just going to heat this up. Whew, burning my fingers. Okay, I'm going to do this from underneath and see if you guys can see it. I'm going to switch sides. It's so cool because it's green, but it's like sparkly green. All right, done with that. Isn't it pretty? It's like, it's got just the, this one isn't as green as the other one was. It's got just like the littlest tint of green to it. So it's really pretty. So let me just pop this. I'm just going to cut this out real quick with this on the Big Shot. So let me do this. Okay, so I have this little dude here, and just to bring the red in, I'm going to take my Real Red marker, and I do this on a lot of pieces when I do them, and I just take the marker and just like trace around the end. Kind of gives you like a little bit of color. Okay. I still can't get used to the fact that it's so quiet with me doing these videos, with having my son and then both of my nieces here on Wednesdays in the summer, and now I'm like, there's no noise. It almost makes me wonder, is somebody up to something? And then I realize, no, I'm home by myself. Kind of boring. Oh, I'm going to have to order them now. I know, they're so cool. Now, since this is tinier, I'm going to just put just this one little snowflake on it just because I don't want to overwhelm it. Another fun thing you could do is you could put something behind it if you wanted to. Like if you had a big snowflake. I'll show you what I mean. So we'll put just this teeny snowflake over here on the side. But you could put like one of these bigger ones behind it. That'll look kind of cute. We'll do that. Why not? Make this card different. I'm going to put two, since this is going to be sticking to the front of this glimmer paper. Put it right there in the corner. Oh, come on, don't make me look like a liar. So there we have that. So I'm going to put some mini dimensionals onto the back. I'll put one on the snowflake and then just a couple on here. Kind of help it keep together. And now that we finished where we put Mrs. Claus, we can actually put that front layer down. So I'm going to do that first. So I'm going to open this, just grab some, whoops, some snail or some Tombow liquid glue. Quite personally, I used to be a little bit chintzy with the snail. And I noticed a couple people I gave cards to, like the cards started to fall apart. So if you're being a little selective with how much snail you're putting on there, don't do that. It's better to use it than to have your card fall apart. That, or definitely use the Tombow. This stuff is amazing. It's my favorite. I think it's absolutely my favorite glue. So I'm going to put this right here. Merry Christmas. So we have that. We have her, probably could have put her up just a teeny bit higher, but still very cute. And the only thing we have to do is we do have to finish something for the inside. So where did I put it? Over here. Here we go. We have this. Merry Christmas. So we're just going to add something else to the inside of this. Let's see what we have. Let's do that one. Friends make the season shine. And we'll do this. You know what? Just to bring it in, I'm going to do this with shaded spruce. That way we have a little bit of that green, since we don't have quite as much of the green. And the other thing you could do too, if you wanted. So I'm going to just show you. Since we're here, might as well just do it real quick. If you don't have a color that you wanted to use for embossing powder, just in case you've never done this, you use Versamark and then your ink color, and then we're going to add clear. So let me just pop that down here real quick. Here's my clear. Here is a mostly clean coffee filter. All right, this will be our last thing. And then, hey, Jamie, nice to see you. No, snail does not hold as well as I thought it did. And all these years I was like, oh, I don't need that much. Why would I need that much? Well, apparently you do need that much. Okay, so I'm going to dip my sentiment into the Versamark first, which kind of makes it sticky. Now, you do have to do this a little quicker. You don't have quite the luxury of the Versamark, like the tackiness of the Versamark. And then I'm going to dip it into my ink color. Okay, and then I'm going to put this down here at the bottom, just like that. Okay, lift. Here's my coffee filter, and dump. So you can see it's got that faded look to it there. Make sure you give it a really good flick. And I have one little spot up here I see. I don't know if that's a... Yeah, I think that's a oopsie on my card. Okay, let me move this over. Let me close this up so I don't stick my arm in it. And we'll heat this up. And stick it in, and then we'll be done. Okay, so if you can see, it totally heats up. And then you'll have a glossy finish, and it looks like you have embossing powder in shaded spruce. So, look at that. Isn't that neat? Okay. Oops, I didn't finish it yet. Hold on. I missed the spot. That's why I usually do the front and the back. That way you're kind of heating it from two sides. Another thing I said a while back too is you can also heat this if you have a like an old cutting board that you're not using anymore. You could use that to kind of heat from both sides. So I'm going to put a little wink of Stella on these. I'm going to start with the lightest, and then I'm going to go darker. So I'm going to go then to the pink. And then finally to the green. But that's what I was saying too. If you wanted to emboss this in like black or green, it would give it that raised image look. So make sure it's nice and dry. Okay, so we're going to put this on the inside. All right, now the only thing is I'm going to give this a second before you flip it so it's dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put this kind of in the center. Oh, look at that. Ran out of snail. Fantastic. Okay, so that's okay. No big deal. I have some fast fuse here. Okay. I'll put this right here in the center. And make sure that's dry. Especially since this is heat embossed, and sometimes it makes your cardstock kind of swirl. Make sure that you actually put a good amount of adhesive. And I'm going to put, I have this, just for a little bit more funsies. Put a snowflake up here, and I have one more. Put this snowflake down here at the bottom. Kind of tie it all together. But I know this was like a lot of different elements in this, but it really is a fun card. This needs a little bit more adhesive. Yeah. So definitely use more adhesive than Rachel, and don't glue things down until you're supposed to, unlike Rachel. So there you go. How cute. Super cute. Super fun. Here was our original. I'll put these up here so they may raise them up a little bit. Here was our today card. I'm going to just wipe this off here while we're talking. Thank you guys so much, as always, for joining me. I hope you learned something new today, or found something that maybe you hadn't tried before, or you might try. Remember, if you have bonus day coupons, no matter who you are a customer of, if you have bonus day coupons, they have to be used by Sunday the 30th. That is the last day for them. If you don't use them, you will lose them. And I know sometimes it's a little kind of like a double-edged sword, because you're like, yeah, well, if I use my coupons, then it kind of takes off the total and you get away from your Hostess rewards. But think of it as this. Think of it as like free shipping, or think of it as saving you on shipping or something like that. So just make sure, if you have your bonus day coupons, use them. And if you don't think you're going to use them, you can send them to a friend. So if you have a friend that maybe is going to place an order, or you want to combine an order with a friend or something, you could do that as well. Doesn't matter who got them originally. Anyone can use them. You just have to make sure that if you have them in your email, that is the only way to get them. So if you lost your email, you lost your bonus coupon. So try and scroll through your old email addresses and just look up like bonus days if you think you might have a coupon that you want to use. And that's it. So thank you guys for joining. Again, I probably won't be back before the end of this week, because I'm getting ready for my son's birthday party on Saturday. But next week, I'm going to try to do at least 2 videos. And you never know, if we end up not doing anything. No, Sunday's his birthday. Forget it. That's going to be out. So I'll have to see you next week. I will see you guys next week. If you have any ideas of what you want to do, technique-wise or classes or anything, shoot me an email, rachthestamper@gmail.com. I hope you guys have an awesome day. If you have anything that you would like to buy, you can hit up rachthestamper.stampinup.net. There is a ordering code through Sunday. So if you want to use that, you'll get some extra freebies. $100 order gets a Simply Chamois. $150 order gets a Take Your Pick tool. Every $50 order gets a free PDF. Thank you guys so much. I will see you next week. I hope you have an awesome weekend.